It all started in 2011. The Indian government, in its infinite wisdom, decided it was time to take control of the internet. The plan was simple: a sweeping set of censorship laws that would monitor, restrict, and stifle online freedom. They underestimated one thing: an idea that thrived in the shadows, a movement that refused to be silenced. The stage was set, and the
Hello, government officials of India. We have been watching your actions from past many years, but the time has come for us to rise against your corrupt and immature actions. You disrupt parliament sessions over cartoons and textbooks when you should be more worried about poverty and rising crimes in the country. The parliament is full of MPs having criminal records. We have access to all your databases over the internet. Operation India #OPA India will leak out all the criminal records of the MPs. We have been successful in taking down websites delhi.govt.in and mea.govt.in. This is just an awakening message for you. We are watching you. We are anonymous. We are legion. We do not forget. We do not forgive corruption. Government of India, you should have expected us.
And the anonymous emerged. The world was at a turning point at the late 2000s. The internet, once a playground for tech devotees and curious minds, had become a critical highway of global communication and expression.
60s and spends the next 20 years being further developed.
Governments around the world were beginning to understand its power and the threat it posed to their control.
Well, governments have an array of tools at their disposal for censoring the internet. This includes everything from blocking access to particular IP addresses.
It was in this atmosphere of rising digital repression that Anonymous emerged. Anonymous was not a traditional organization. It had no leader, no headquarters, no defined membership. Instead, it was a collective.
And then all of a sudden, some guy comes on, he's not even from the area, and he's like, I'm coming for you.
A loosely connected network of activists, hackers, and idealists united by a shared belief in the power of information and the need to challenge oppression in all its forms.
Is nothing more than an idea that can be appropriated for a common cause.
They wore the iconic Guy Fawkes mask, it's a symbol of defiance and anonymity.
My turn.
Inspired by the graphic novel V for Vendetta.
Why won't you die? Beneath this mask, there is more than flesh. Beneath this mask, there is an idea, Mr. Creedy. And ideas are bulletproof.
Their name alone was enough to send ripples across the digital world. People would get excited, even electrified, on hearing about Anonymous. It was a name that promised disruption, a signal that something significant was about to happen. Forums would buzz with speculation, social media would light up with hashtags, and whispers would spread rapidly. Anonymous was not just a collective, it was a phenomenon that captured imaginations and struck fear into those in power. Their reputation for bold and unpredictable actions made them both revered and feared. This new collective was about to make its own mark, and it would begin with a name that would send shockwaves through India. In 2011, as the Indian government began to tighten its grip on the internet, a spark was ignited. Anonymous India wasn't just inspired by the global movement, it was driven by a deep-rooted frustration with the government's disregard for the people's voice. The nation had witnessed too much corruption, too much suffering, and too many broken promises. And while the rest of the world watched, Anonymous India stepped forward, shrouded in secrecy, ready to take on the system. With the flicker of a screen, their first message was clear. We are watching, we are listening, and we will act. The government's attempts to control the narrative had only fueled the fire. What followed was the beginning of a series of digital strikes that would shake the very foundations of India's political establishment. Leaked documents, exposed databases. A relentless fight against a system that had long been a breeding ground for corruption.
Responding to the hacktivist group Anonymous India's call for protest against internet censorship.
Anonymous India wasn't just a digital presence, it was a movement. A warning to those who thought they were untouchable. A promise that no one was beyond accountability. And just like the global collective that had inspired them, they stood united. Bound not by borders or ideology, but by the fundamental belief that truth could never be silenced. The internet had long been seen as a tool of expression, an unfiltered medium where ideas could be shared without borders. But in 2011, as the Indian government tightened its grip on cyberspace, many felt their rights slipping away. Anonymous India changed that. They made people feel the weight of online censorship, forcing them to confront a reality where their voices could be silenced with the flick of a switch. Websites for government departments, India's Supreme Court, and 2 political parties all came under attack. Anonymous said the attacks were carried out in retaliation against blocks imposed on well-known video and file-sharing sites. As the blogs started to come into force in mid-May, Anonymous launched attacks against 14 separate government and political sites. In tweets documenting its ongoing hack attacks, Anonymous said they were being carried out in retaliation for internet censorship in India. To knock out the sites, Anonymous bombarded them with data, a tactic known as a distributed denial of services (DDoS) attack. The digital space in India was no longer just for entertainment or social networking. It had become a battleground for truth. Inspired by Anonymous India's defiance, other groups and individuals started using the internet to organize protests, expose corruption, and challenge the status quo. Social media campaigns surged, independent journalists gained traction, and online petitions became a tool of resistance. But now, censorship in India is tightening its grip again. The latest controversy involving comedian Samir Raina and entrepreneur Ranveer Allahabadia on India's Got Latent, where a simple joke sparked massive backlash. But was it really about the joke? Or was it another attempt to crush independent voices?
Center to strengthen laws pertaining to digital content to prevent episodes such as Ranveer Allahabadia in future.
While the country struggles with rising crime, unemployment, and a broken system, certain groups have made it their mission to go after comedians and creators. People who dare to speak up or even just make people laugh. Instead of holding the government accountable for real problems, an army of online trolls and powerful figures are working overtime to silence anyone who doesn't fall in line. And this isn't just a one-time thing, it's a part of a bigger and scarier pattern. An effort to control what people can say, hear and think. The question is, who's next? How far will this crackdown on digital freedom go? And as India edges closer to losing its last safe space for free speech, will anyone have the courage to fight back? Or maybe Anonymous will return, reminding those in power that the internet isn't so easy to control.
We do not forgive corruption. Government of India, you should have expected us.